Hi, my name is Brooke Van Leeuwen. I'm 23 years old, and about a year ago, I joined the Guelph Area Right to Life board. And I don't know exactly why I was asked to join the board, but I believe it was for some insight from a younger person. So I've always been pro-life, but I think it's been really interesting and important to me to learn more about what it means to be pro-life and learn more about euthanasia. I've learned so much since joining this board, and I'm really excited to just hear a little bit about our history, because it amazes me that Guelph and Area Right to Life has been around for 50 years now. So that's quite an accomplishment, and I love to hear that story and that passion of, okay, where did this start in 1974? So I've definitely learned a lot since being on the board, and I would just encourage anybody who's not a member to consider becoming a member, because once you're involved as a member, suddenly all those newsletters, you want to read them a little bit more and just get involved and do your research some more. So I'm excited for that.
Keith and Elizabeth, if you guys could share how and maybe why you guys started Guelph and Area Right to Life.
Well, we've been involved with pro-life since 1971. And gone to the first pro-life demonstration in Canada, which was the Mother's Day March in Toronto on Mother's Day of 1971.
That's cool.
We then moved to Prince Edward Island when I was teaching there, and co-founded PEI Right to Life. And when we moved to Guelph in the summer of 1974, we looked around for a pro-life group, and we're told that there had been a group. A group had come into existence, and Velma Moyer had started it.
Oh, okay.
But it seemed to have lapsed or was not active. And so we started trying to call people, find out people to call. And so that's how we got in touch with Ellen and some of the people you mentioned, the Adamas, Dr. Jane Hostel, Timothy and Rupert Smith, and some others, and began as Guelph Right to Life. And I guess we incorporated very shortly thereafter, and we began actual operations.
How did you get started with Guelph and Area Right to Life?
Actually, I was involved at our church. There was a petition that was supposed to go to our Prime Minister, who was Pierre Trudeau at the time.
Oh, really? Okay.
A 1 million person petition. So they asked me to help the church. I said, yeah, I'll help. I'm there all the time. So anyway, so we did this 1 million signature petition right across Canada, and it was sent into the government.
Yep.
And it got basically deposited in what it should have been deposited in. They paid no attention to it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that was basically where I got started. And some of the people involved were just getting the board going.
All right.
Keith Cassidy, his wife Betty, and a few others at the time. So Keith knew I was a financial guy, so he says, we need an accountant.
Okay.
I said, well, okay, Keith.
I was vaguely pro-life because I'd grown up pro-life, but it was one of those, didn't think about it much. And then I saw an ad, a full-page ad in the Guelph Mercury of an unborn child, about 4 or 5 months gestation, and the caption, what about his rights? And I said, oh, well, yes, what about the baby? And so there was a phone number, and I phoned, and I didn't get Velma, I got a friend of hers, and she was very wary and very scared, and they had apparently had some really, really awful responses. People
having it in the news like that?
Being quite angry and unpleasant and very tough. But Velma had apparently got together with a group of friends, and they had bought the ad. So that was really what started things off.
The Right to Life had invited Bev Hadland, and she was a speaker on chastity, actually. And she showed us a film called The Silent Scream.
Right.
And those people that know me know I've always got something to say. It silenced me. I couldn't speak. And we went home, and my husband said, Paul said to me, "Are you all right?" And I said, I just can't believe what we've just seen. Because I watched this tiny little baby, first time really, because when I had my children, we didn't have ultrasound. It wasn't in quite the dark ages, but it was long ago.
Okay.
So I'd actually never seen a little one in the womb before.
Really?
And you see this tiny little 12-weeker, and just so beautiful. And then you watch, it was all in black and white.
Right.
You watch the instrument, and you watch pieces of the baby disappear. You watch the little one try and move away, and I just was so shocked.
Mhm.
So shocked. So when I went home, I knelt down and I blamed God.
Okay.
I just said, why do you let it happen?
Mhm.
And I won't say I was spoken to by God, but I just got this sense, well, I gave everybody the choice. This is what they're choosing. Do something.
Well, I think it started with actually Jackie Jeffs. She was a neighbor of mine.
Okay.
She lived up the street from me. And she went to the same church that I did. So we knew of each other, but we really didn't connect till a friend of mine found out that the Guelph Right to Life were looking for a piece of property to start a home for pregnant mothers who wanted to keep their children. So my friend actually had a piece of property in Guelph that he was living in Alberta at the time. So he asked me to go to the meeting, the board meeting, and present the piece of property to them. So we discussed the property, and there was a lot that had to happen with it. Like we had to demolish a house, and we had to put up another structure, and it just didn't fit within the budget at the time. It would take too long
Right.
to rezone it and all the rest of the requirements required with that. So yeah, and then I think from that point on, I was asked to be part of the subcommittee that would continue looking for a piece of property or a suitable home
Yeah.
for that cause.
And that's how you got involved.
Yeah,
Neat. And then you stayed on for a while, and kind of that led to Michael House, I believe, right?
that's right. That's right.
Why is the pro-life movement and being involved in Guelph Area Right to Life, why is that important to you?
Well, I guess it was important because of what I said when I looked, and I said, yes, there are two people involved. And then I always used to wonder, I'm 80, so when I was young, the Second World War had just finished, and we heard about all of the atrocities and everything. And I used to think to myself, I wonder if I would have, helped the Jewish people, and would I have recognized their humanity? And I don't know whether I would have done, but I certainly thought, at least now, it's not a crime to recognize the humanity of the unborn.
It's important because we're witnesses. And I know very, very early on, I'd just been doing some research on history, on Nazi Germany and things like that.
Right.
And I was reading how important it is not to forget. When we forget that other human beings are human beings,
Right.
we can't forget that we forgot that. But we can't. We mustn't ever.
Right.
And so I thought, this is somewhere that we can witness to life.
I'll never forget one talk that we did. I think it was Keith and I who happened to do this one in a high school in Guelph, and we didn't think about it again until about 6 years later. We were invited to a party at a house of one of Keith's graduate students, and so we go to this house, and the party's downstairs, actually in the basement. And so we're about to walking down the stairs to the basement, and there's a picture on the wall, and it's a picture of this fellow and his wife, and they had 3 little children. And as walking down the stairs, he turned to Keith and he said, "By the way, they're your fault," because he was so moved by the pro-life message in that talk that, he went on, got married and had children, and
Right.
was questioning a lot when he was in high school. And so I
That's
thought
really neat.
you don't often get feedback. As you say, Ellen, it was sometimes difficult and you didn't get positive things. But in this case, it took 6 or 7 years later before the fruits of that talk came through. So you never know, and I'm sure Jackie has more experience, can attest to this, how much you have an impact, even though at the time it doesn't seem it.
And what would you say to people who are not involved with Guelph and Area Right to Life yet? What would you say to them?
I would say if you're anywhere near my age, why the heck are you not a member?
Yeah.
And if you're a young person, why are you listening to what the other side is saying? I mean, we're being taught to believe that if a husband and wife had that sexual intimacy, what they produce in the woman is not a human being. Well, it's not a carrot, is it? It's not a cabbage.
Right.
Of course it's not human being. And our law still doesn't define our children in the womb as human beings.
Yeah.
So there is so much work to do.
Everything begins with life, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we lose the right to life, we lose all our other rights.
Right.
And, as a Christian, I know that, every person is made in the image and likeness of God, right? So we're called to protect life, to promote life, and to love life.
Yes, for sure.
And so, again, it begins at life. And every life, I think, is a chance to love.
Yeah.
Right? Because every life is able to give love and to receive love.
Right.
And so, so that's the core of everything.
Uh-huh. So a friend of mine who used to be on the board of Guelph and Area Right to Life, and she was actually a president for 6 years or so, Kristen Slaving, she was not able to come in tonight, but she has a very compelling story, so I wanted to take a minute to just share it on her behalf. So she kind of shares, when I got involved with Guelph and Area Right to Life 16 years ago, I really had no idea what I was getting into. As a new mom, I was reading the Guelph Area Right to Life newsletter and saw that they were asking for board members. As I had a lot of spare time on my hands and they promised it would only be a couple of hours a month, I thought, why not? And Kristen goes on to say, well, let me assure you, it was more than a few hours a month. Jackie Jeffs, who was president at that time as well, had made me a short initiation video. It was called The Silent Scream, and it is a video I have never forgotten. Although I had always been pro-life, I don't think at that point I had ever truly thought of the humanity of the unborn baby before. That video changed my life. It brought the humanity of the babies being aborted to the forefront. And my commitment to a few hours of a week to a few hours a month quickly became a few hours every week, which then became a day every week, and then 2 days every week. Although I wasn't able to keep that up, I've never regretted a minute that I've spent volunteering at Guelph and Area Right to Life. I'm not gonna lie, being involved in the pro-life movement can be emotionally tolling. However, while God doesn't promise us a life of ease, He does promise to give us what we need to do all the tasks that He calls us to do. And the pro-life movement is a calling He calls us to do. In His word, He tells us to look after the orphans and the widows in their distress. A large portion of the women who are accessing abortions have been abandoned by their partners. These children are fatherless. He also calls us to rescue those being led to the slaughter. 300 babies a day are being led to the slaughter in Canada. Thousands of people lose their lives to euthanasia every year. People who have been fed the lie that ending their life gives them more dignity than waiting to die naturally. Our neighbors in the world desperately need the truth, and as God's people, we know the truth. It is our duty to share God's precious words of life and truth to those who are so lost. And God will bless these efforts. He has. While we may not see many positive changes in new laws, there are so many stories of men and women who have chosen life after being given life-giving words of hope and help. You too can be an instrument in God's hand in the pro-life movement. You just need to take that first step. Get involved, learn apologetics, attend pro-life events, join the board, volunteer. You'll never regret it. Thanks.